Show more, 1701. You know that thing you do when something isn't working, so you just try harder. You push yourself more. You add more hours, more focus, more discipline. And somehow, it gets worse. Not because you're lazy, not because you're weak, but because effort itself, when applied wrong, creates the opposite of what you want. This is one of the strangest patterns in human behavior. The harder you try to fall asleep, the more awake you become. The more you tell yourself to relax before a presentation, the tighter your chest feels. The harder you focus on not thinking about something, the more it dominates your mind. It's not just frustrating, it's backwards. And here's the uncomfortable part. You've been taught your whole life that effort solves problems, that persistence wins, that if something isn't working, you're just not trying hard enough. So when trying harder makes things worse, you don't question the approach, you question yourself. But the problem isn't you. It's what happens inside your nervous system when effort becomes force. There's a concept in psychology research that doesn't get talked about enough. It's called ironic process theory. The basic idea is this: when you try to suppress or control something, your brain has to monitor whether you're succeeding. And that monitoring process keeps the very thing you're trying to avoid active in your mind. You're essentially asking your brain to watch for the thing you don't want, which means it never leaves. Think about this. You're lying in bed and you tell yourself, I need to fall asleep. Your brain now has a job. Check if you're asleep yet. But to check, it has to keep you awake. So the harder you try, the more alert you become. The effort itself is the obstacle. Or you're in a meeting and you think, don't say something stupid. Now your brain is scanning every thought for stupidity, which makes you hyper-aware of every word, which makes you more likely to stumble. You're not failing because you lack intelligence. You're failing because you're trying to control something that works better without control. This shows up everywhere. You try to force yourself to feel confident, and you become more aware of your doubt. You try to stop procrastinating by shaming yourself, and the shame makes the task feel even heavier. You try to be spontaneous, and the effort kills the spontaneity. It's not irony. It's mechanics, and it doesn't stop at thoughts. It extends to your body. When you're anxious and you try to force yourself to calm down, your nervous system interprets that effort as more threat, because effort means something is wrong. Calm people don't have to try to be calm. So your body reads your attempt to relax as confirmation that there's danger. Your heart rate stays high. Your breath stays shallow, not because you're broken, but because you're working against how the system is designed. This is why people who try the hardest to appear confident often come across as the most tense. Why people who try to seem interesting often seem rehearsed. Why the person trying desperately to be liked often pushes people away. The effort broadcasts the fear, and people feel it, even if they can't name it. But here's where it gets more uncomfortable. This doesn't just apply to emotions or sleep. It applies to performance. Research on skill acquisition shows that at a certain level, conscious effort interferes with execution. When you're learning something new, focus helps. But once a skill becomes automatic, overthinking disrupts it. Athletes call this choking. You're so focused on not messing up that you override the pattern your body already knows. Your muscles tense, your timing breaks, the effort itself creates the error. You see this in everyday tasks too. You're typing quickly, then you become aware of your fingers and suddenly you're slower. You're walking downstairs, then you think about each step and you almost trip. You're speaking naturally, then you notice your voice and it sounds strange. The observation changes the process. Trying harder doesn't help. It fragments what was whole. And this is the part no one really wants to hear. A lot of what we call trying is actually just anxiety dressed up as productivity. You're not working harder because the task needs it. You're working harder because you're afraid of what it means if you don't. You're not studying more because you need the information. You're studying more because you're terrified of failure. The effort isn't about the goal. It's about escaping the feeling. And the feeling never actually goes away, because the effort keeps it alive. Think about the last time you stayed up late trying to finish something that didn't really need to be finished that night. You weren't being diligent. You were trying to outrun discomfort. And the next day, exhausted and slow, you probably had to redo half of it anyway. The extra effort didn't improve the result. It just made you feel like you were doing something. This is one of the quietest traps. Effort becomes a ritual, not because it works, but because it feels like control. And when you're scared, control feels necessary, even when it's imaginary. But here's the clarification, because this can be misunderstood. This doesn't mean effort is bad. It doesn't mean discipline doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you should just stop trying and wait for things to happen. That's not what this is about. What this is about is recognizing when effort has turned into force, when trying has become straining, when focus has become fixation. There's a difference between working towards something and fighting yourself. And most people have never been taught to feel that difference. Real effort is directed at the task. It's specific, it's engaged, but it's not frantic. Forced effort is directed at yourself. It's about proving something, avoiding something, controlling something inside you that won't be controlled, and that's when things break down. You can tell the difference by how your body feels. Real effort might be tiring, but it doesn't feel like panic. Forced effort feels like you're holding your breath, like you're clenched, like you're trying to be somewhere other than where you are. And that tension, that resistance to the present moment, is what creates the interference. So when sleep won't come, it's not because you need to try harder to relax. It's because you're already trying. When words won't flow, it's not because you need more focus. It's because you're gripping too tight. When confidence won't arrive, it's not because you lack it. It's because you're performing it instead of allowing it. And maybe that's the real realization here. A lot of what we want doesn't come from addition. It comes from subtraction. Not doing more, doing less. Not trying harder, trying differently. Or sometimes, just stopping the try altogether. You don't fix this by ignoring it. You don't fix it by pretending effort doesn't matter. You fix it by noticing when you've crossed the line, when your trying has become the thing in the way. And that noticing, that small awareness is often enough to let the grip loosen, not because you decided to let go, but because you saw what holding on was actually doing.